and a diverse population of European, what do you call that? Their parents would have been born in Canada, but they would have been from ethnic backgrounds like Italian and Spanish. And because I taught at Barton Secondary on the mountain, I taught at Scott Park in Hamilton. So we're looking at an economic, I would say lower class.
Okay. And how many students were typically in your classes?
Oh, between 25 and 30.
Okay, so pretty typical public school.
Typical, yeah. Okay. Sometimes in drama, sometimes you don't want more than 20, but,
Definitely.
It might go, like when I was talking to you just now, I did teach English as well, and I taught, so just to get that, in special ed, I would have like 10, near the end of my career, I did special education, so.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a lower density of children. Okay.
And then moving into social emotional learning, how would you define social emotional learning, or what do you know about it?
I don't know whether I value that kind of learning. So I don't know whether I need to define it, or can I just say that it is absolutely, it's essential for the students to feel confidence. However, it depends on the subject area. Like if you're doing drama education, then you're looking at their being able to work in groups, which does spread into, their other classes, right? Their understanding, social emotional. So let me think for a sec.
Yeah, totally.
So social learning is to be able to learn with others, right? And teamwork. Okay. But also about how the family is structured, how their students' role in family and in society, and it's just an identity exploration. Emotional learning is to be able to give the emotions that they experience a vocabulary, emotional vocabulary, so that there's an ability to express what is going on within the person. So that is extremely important. Who am I? Where do I fit in? How am I important in this world, in my family, in my community? Am I a good person? Yeah. It just leads into morals and values, and what are my strengths? It's like a student is able to understand their strengths and weaknesses also in their learning and in their ability to communicate.
Right. Exactly. So I just asked that question sort of to get an idea of, because every teacher will kind of see social emotional learning in a different way. So I just wanted to have an understanding for my research, how you perceive it.
Yeah, in a drama classroom, it's just there. That is what the focus is. That's the intention or goals of the curriculum.
Definitely. Because that's
right. But in another classroom, social emotional has an underlying importance or significance to the learning style.
Exactly. So social emotional learning is something that has sort of become a more new buzzword, and they talk about it in lots of different classes because it's become more important for teachers to find a way to incorporate social emotional learning into other subjects. Like you say, like
right.
drama, it's more connected. So that's also why I'm looking at it, because in when you're teaching at the elementary, middle school level, and all of your and one teacher is teaching all of the different subjects, there's a lot of like there's a chance for you to teach English or teach history or whatever through drama, and then you would be incorporating social emotional learning into that lesson as well. So that's sort of,
we could call it drama across the curriculum, right? Which was an area that I did a lot of curriculum writing, and it's how to incorporate all those aspects. But the essence is role play.
Yeah.
And my professor passed away. Do you know David Booth?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And he passed away just in December, yes. Yeah. And he was my advisor. And so, this is the teacher enroll, the student enroll, and it's, being able to be what you're talking about, to really engage the student through, social emotional learning helps the student engage and embody what they're studying.
Right.
So that's, that's my core belief. It's activity based too. It's not just having the kids answer questions and from a book. It's from their heart.
Right. Exactly.
Learning from within.
Yeah. And then can you describe the changes that you've seen in your students' understanding of certain topics after learning through drama?
Because I have, not been in the classroom for many years now, but I was an AQ instructor. Okay. So I'm going back to what I would see in elementary, and I did work with elementary teachers. I see that there, as I said before, the ability to the comprehension level of the subject matter and the excitement, the emotional excitement, was really evident. I just think it's a real, genuine, experiential kind of result,
right?
That you get, where they have engaged in it so heavily that sometimes they're in the moment. I'm talking about from a theater standpoint. They really are taking on that learning and embodying what they have learned. So I don't know whether I'm answering the question, but I'm being really general. Like if it's a historical figure, or if it's a figure that you're studying from a short story, right, or a picture book, and you're looking at bullying. I did a little unit volunteering at a school here, and the level of excitement and emotion was much higher than in another class where you'd be talking about something, but you're in it.
Right.
The students are inside it. So the changes in them was palpable.
Right.
At the moment, at that time.
So that bullying unit that you did, how old were those students?
They would have been in grade 5.
Okay.
I think. Yeah. I met a teacher through Rotary, and she was actually a French teacher, and she said she wanted to look at that topic, and it would be great to have me come in, and I did a few weeks on that, and I actually used a book that Larry Swartz, who is my colleague, had compiled, and just sort of based some of the work. But there's a lot of there would be group talk. It's getting the kids to talk about it, and they really would talk about it after. And they, what I found is they liked the physicality of being able to show what they've learned, and they don't think about it. In another classroom, you're sitting there and waiting for someone to put their hand up. But in this way, it was just spontaneous and authentically, enacting.
Right. Yeah.
You don't have to ask, they're there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you could give me an example of do you want like a specific subject area?
No, it's really, I mean, if it's history, or if it's, it could be really anything. It's just the idea of like how you see drama affect student understanding. But I think you touched on that for sure.
I think so. Yeah. And I'm looking at, let's say you're studying a health unit or mm-hmm. a unit on sexuality, which they do now in their studies. And they don't, it gives, when they're in role, or when they're doing a group improvisation, it gives them that bit of emotional distance as well, so they don't feel threatened. There is a safety in exploring things when everyone else is. Yeah. So the emotional risk level is lessened.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And then in terms of decision making, so how have you seen your students' decision making skills change or be challenged through drama, either during an activity that they're doing or like over time, like throughout the year?
Well, I can relate more to the activity rather than throughout the year.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I can, because decision making, for the students who are in a group, for example, it's interactive with others, so it's that team approach, and they have to share, and so it's less threatening. Mm-hmm. Decisions are made. Let's do this history. Let's do the story of X, Y, or Z. And I don't think they think about it, but they're making decisions, mm-hmm. and they're contributing to other decisions as a group. It's more of a group decision-making process. Mm-hmm. I think the key word is process, so the decisions that the group makes, like they're looking for acceptance and consensus, and then they come up with something that pleases everybody, and so it becomes a much more positive experience. And I've seen that. Right. It's not threatening, but there are decisions that are made extrinsically and intrinsically. Right within the actual activity, the exercise that you're giving them to do. And then beyond that, they're making decisions on the structure, and, I'm thinking of, how the area is set up, they're in the environment. Like if they're sharing, mm-hmm. there's decisions about that, about sharing.
And so then how do you think that affects are you, are you implying then that they're, by sharing in decision and it being a teamwork process, are they getting better at like making decisions as a group? Is that like the area that they would be strengthening, do you think?
Yes, both, and as individuals, because they gain the support from the group, and then they're able to make decisions on their own too, and be heard and respected by their fellow students. Yeah. So I think one goes hand in hand with the other.
Right. Okay. And then
I feel I'm being very general here, but that's okay, I think. It's theoretical, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't have a class that I'm drawing on from yesterday.
That's totally okay. I think it's fine to, like, based on all of your experience, like, how have you seen these things? And so that's what you're answering.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's totally fine.
The thing is that kids in your area, there's a difference between students sharing their work, right, with the teacher, who also takes on a role. And then as the students develop, like what you want to do with drama in high school, then the teacher becomes more of an observer, and the students present, or we hate the word performance, because that doesn't have a sense of authenticity. You're putting it on for something. And so we're looking at the real, something being real. So it's different from the early years to the senior years. But there's more decision making. Like, I've seen the change. Someone is able to be more of a director. Someone is able to be the quiet, like everyone is able to use their strengths.
Right.
In the senior years.
Yeah.
And the teacher doesn't have as much input. Whereas, in the junior years, and I am talking about decision making and whatnot, the teacher has much more of a directorial position. They try and get it out of the kids.
Yeah. But then once the scene's kind of going, they have more chance to make decisions.
Yeah, and the decisions sometimes are made, if it's improvisational, decisions are made along the way, like in the moment, in the improvisation. There's constant decision making.
Definitely.
Saying yes, not presenting any obstacles, trying to continue on with the flow of what you're doing.
And that aspect of saying yes, do you think that has any impact on outside of the drama? When they're learning to say yes in drama, like, do you think that has any impact after?
Yeah, it helps with we go back to the social emotional. When you're not able to, when you're putting up blocks, when you're looking at not feeling accepted, like not free to have your ideas accepted, so when you're free to go with the flow, which is saying yes, you go with the flow, you don't put up any obstacles. But I mean, kids have obstacles in their lives, but they're able to understand that they don't have to be demeaned by it.
Right.
They can, gain a confidence so that they're able to feel a sense of, I'm throwing in everything I know here, a sense of worth, that what you have to offer, even in a conflict situation. We're looking at drama is about conflict and dealing with conflicts, in my opinion, and being able to problem solve too. So those decisions are really valuable for their regular everyday lives. Transference, it's called, between the classroom and their own personal lives.
Right.
They can transfer that learning and feel strong in their decision making.
Perfect. That's great. And then in terms of social awareness, so whether it be like helping, like wanting to do more for the globe, for the world, or for the people in their lives, or being more socially aware in any way that you perceive it. Have you seen the influence of drama in that way?
Can you go over that again?
Sure,
that's a lot to swallow.
So social awareness is like the ability to interpret the social environment. And in my research, I've also seen people talk about how connect social awareness to doing things to help other people or help the world. And so I was wondering if you could talk about how drama influences that.
Okay. Something just came to mind. When I was teaching at Barton, and actually I did other, students love to take their improvisational skills, that they've built, and work with seniors and with the students who are in the junior grades, and be able to lead workshops. That was one of the things that we wanted them to do, is to be able to, work with different age groups and also different needs of, like I worked with physically disabled kids too who couldn't speak. They use bliss boards. I've done that kind of work as well. But I see that, I have seen that students really, really appreciate working with others and being able to share their learning. So, for example, Remembrance Day activities, working with seniors who were in the Second World War, many of whom that's sort of an old thing. It's hard, the veterans are long gone, but I remember sharing so much with storytelling, and the seniors sharing their stories, and the drama students being able to take that information and from the stories and reenacting them and becoming them, and they developed a bond. And by doing that kind of work outside of the classroom and taking them into, the world, I think they developed an appreciation, and I can't say that in their adult lives they'll continue to do volunteer work or, but I definitely saw them learn about how important it is to share that way.
Right. And then did you do drama work after with what they had learned?
Yes. Oh, yeah. And it was able to share that with the rest of the school. It's always, using, it's sort of a research, you do research that way with with whoever you're working with. And then, it's taken back to the classroom and it's developed in a way, and the kids then can practice decision making as to how they would dramatically or theatrically structure it. I'm talking about high school students, but the younger students can still gain from that experience, and maybe they would draw what they learned or write, do some expressive work, painting, or you know what I'm saying? They don't necessarily perform. Senior students might be able to enact and then the experiences. Yeah, you can take drama into so many areas, such as you can do prison work, you can work with the handicapped. It's amazing. And now I started studying the therapies. That's my area, but so I think that I've seen some students who have done that, who've gone into those fields. Yeah.
Right. So those experiences and using drama has helped them empathize with.
Absolutely. I actually got on Facebook with a former student who I've touched base with in the last couple of years, who used to direct with me in the Sears Drama Festivals. And, what she's doing in her life is just so connected to the drama experiences. She's become a counselor, like a coach. And, using those skills, they're irreplaceable.
Right.
She's developed her own form of therapy, but she didn't call herself a therapist.
Right.
But that was really heartening to know that.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's been others that I've seen that have gone into actually teaching drama. This one fellow who is at Westdale was my student, and it's so this is a personal thing between you and me, but his name's Carmia Kelly, and he was a drama student of mine, and so he's actually teaching drama, and quite a few of my students from Barton have gone into the actual education field. So,
Yeah, that's so nice.
That's a positive.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so then in terms of student behavior, how have you observed student behavior change during or after drama? And then if you wanted to talk about long-term behavioral changes as well.
Well, I gotta tell you, sometimes students can't understand the lack of structure.
Right.
In a drama class. It takes a certain kind of rapport and disciplinary tone by the instructor, teacher, facilitator. You can't scream or shout at kids in a drama class. It's a mutual respect. It has to be respectful. But kids nowadays, I found at the beginning of a year, of a semester, let's say, they just don't get it that they have to be self-regulatory or self-disciplined,
right,
and cooperate and not horse around.
Yeah.
So horseplay is common.
Yeah.
Because they love that freedom.
Mm-hmm.
They come out of other class, like they like phys ed and they like activity-based learning, but they don't always want to learn, like they don't always know. So anyway, they take advantage of it, and so that becomes a problem.